How do you as parents feel about this documentary?
It's bringing up emotions.
Like what?
Hmm?
Like what? Hi, my name is Danny Lewis and I'm 20 years old. I am a student at the University for the Creative Arts. I am studying television production, and for that we have to create a final major project, and I chose for mine to do a documentary. This is a opportunity for me which allows me to explore something about my life that I now have a reason to go and explore. What I mean by this is, I was born with this hand. I was born with a disability called symbrachydactyly, which basically means when a child is in the womb, their fingers don't grow due to some kind of reason, which no one really knows yet. It's because it's an anomaly, and that's a word that when you look it up online about the disability will always pop up. It's an anomaly, and therefore there ain't much information on it. And that's why I wanted to do this documentary. I want to look into the people who are born with this anomaly. So that's why I'm creating this documentary, Little Hands.
For me, I think it's more about, for me personally, I think it's more about you. I think that it's you. I'm glad that you're doing it so that you've got some acceptance and some understanding. You know, I think where your mum's concerned, I think that she spent 21 years blaming herself. So
No.
I think that
Done 29 years of it on my own. Just going to the hospitals and seeing you go down to the theatre, and it's horrible. Not nice. And then to see the end result, which hasn't worked for you, is not... If I could go back, I would not have had anything done to your hand, nothing whatsoever.
Are we all ready to go and start this documentary?
Yep.
Dad, are you ready to drive how many miles?
no.
Too bad, we're going anyway. Alright then, let's get this documentary started. As I journey all over the country to visit two people, I will be visiting a girl called Hero who is 2 years old and her parents. They live up in Wales. Then I will be heading to Manchester to meet with Carol, who is a woman who has managed, despite her disability, to pursue her dreams. Also, we're finally here at Amy and Heroes. We're about to go in and say hello and meet them for the first time. So let's hope everything goes well.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to meet you,
Debbie.
Amy. Nice to meet you,
Daryl.
Debbie. Nice to meet you, Dale. This is Hero.
Hello, Hero.
Come on in, everybody.
After you.
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much. Come on in. Thank you.
Want to do the blogs because I would never have, even if I was to, I don't know, that's not.
It was. That's lovely. Thank you. Can you cover your mouth if you're coughing? I could, but I won't.
I'm not going.
I used to be a journalist, and I write. It's just what I've always done, and I've always found, when I first wrote it, I had no intention of publishing it. It was just, that's how I process. Thank you. That's lovely. That's just how I process everything, and I just had all these, you know, feelings and thoughts going around my head. Here we go. Thank you. And that's how I process. So I just wrote it, and then after, I think it was about a couple of months, a few people were like, actually, that it might help. Because one thing I found really problematic when she was born was I looked online, I did loads of research, and everything was positive, which is wonderful. That's what you need, is what you want. Everything's okay, but I felt dreadful. I felt really bad. I was worried about her. I was scared. I was frightened. And but then I felt like I was wrong for feeling that way, because everything was, yay, everything's amazing, they're all fine, look what they can do. And I was like, well, why do I feel so bad then? So I wanted to do the blog, not to scare people, but that's what I wanted to read. I wanted to read that it was okay to feel bad.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean you don't love your child. It doesn't mean you aren't going to do everything you can for them, but it hurt. And it was just, nobody else seemed to be writing that at the time, and I just needed to hear that it was okay.
There was just, nothing.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the prosthetics?
Sense of frustration.
Have you seen the prosthetic hands they can give you?
Yeah, and
I hope they've improved.
I think they have a little.
It's all their 3D.
The prosthetic issue is that I don't want her to feel that she should cover it up in any way. I don't want her to feel
very much
that there's something that would make her look more normal or fit in better. And I don't want her not to grow up being proud and open about who she is and how she looks.
Do you know what? I hated it when he was wearing his prosthetic. Hated it.
Right, but
with a passion. But that was his choice.
Yeah.
And
that's what we've said. If she chooses it, we will support it.
Until he made his mind up that actually it looked worse than. It looked worse
more
than
attention.
No, it didn't.
Oh,
no, it didn't.
It was horrible. Horrible.
Meeting Hero was a great experience, as she was the first person with my disability that I've ever met, and it was great to see it first in someone younger than me, as it allowed me to go back and look at how I might have been when I was younger, at how differently we have to think and interact with objects, toys and other people. And then finding a way around it that allowed us to be who we are was just an amazing experience to see firsthand. We're here in Huddersfield and we're about to go and meet Carol Hodge, who is the next part of my documentary.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hello. There for you.
Oh, bless you, thank you very much. That's lovely. Come on in, nice to meet you.
So, hi, can you introduce yourself for both cameras, please?
Cool. So, hi, my name is Carol Hodge. Should I do it in that one as well?
Oh,
is that
Carol with this one?
Okay,
Nice.
yeah. Hi. Nice to meet you.
What's your age, where you live, what you do?
I'm 36 and I live in Huddersfield, and as my job I am a touring musician. I play piano and I sing, and I also teach piano and singing online to students all around the world. Cool. So if I just like play a bit and just talk about what I'm doing or whatever, right, okay. Just going to teacher mode. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, so when I play, I do a few things that are obviously different to 10-fingered pianists. One of the things I tend to do when I play in bands, particularly if it's so for example, all the bands I play in have got bass players, so I don't really have to do much in the sort of bass section of the piano. So I tend to have my hands quite close together. So I'll be doing something that's kind of like. I tend to sort of sit around the middle of the piano, and my left hand kind of forms like the bottom of chords. But I don't know, I'm not sure. They didn't tell my mum anything at the time. They don't know, they just said, oh, it was just a mutation. Which isn't a nice word when you're a kid, you know, mutation, you know, when you're mutated, or... I think the language around physical differences is very interesting. So, and it's always changing. So I remember, like, so things like deformed hand deformity, a malformed hand, like I say, genetic mutation, and then obviously the big one, disability. So I had a real issue, like, with classing myself as disabled, because I felt that I kind of wasn't disabled, because I could still do stuff. I could do pretty much everything apart from pull-ups. I could drive, I could play piano. Like, I just kind of felt like it was unfair of me to attach that label to myself, because I just thought of it as being quite a like sort of like self-pitying label. I don't know, I don't really know how to explain it. I just thought, well, yeah, I've got something weird with me, but it's not a disability. I'm like, it doesn't stop me doing things. But then when I did my research for my dissertation, I learned all about different types of disability and how social disability, you can be disabled by the way people perceive you and the way people think about your capabilities. And then obviously things like environmental disability, where it's like if you're a wheelchair user and you come to a building and there's no ramp, you can't access it. So there's all these different elements of our society and the world in general that are actually connected to disability. It's not just like you've only got the 2 fingers instead of the 5. There's a whole world that goes with that, and what the implications are and how it affects you as a person and how it affects everyone around you as well.
Meeting Carol was a different experience than to meeting Hero, because unlike Hero giving a glimpse into the past, Carol gave me a glimpse into the future. Seeing what hard work and perseverance can do to someone with a disability when they don't allow it to hold them back. She doesn't see herself as someone who is disabled, and that is a mentality that I wish to have going forward in life, because it hasn't allowed her to hold herself back, hasn't allowed her to make changes to who she is and what she wants to do.
Are you enjoying it?
It's a good experience.
Have you enjoyed meeting Hero and Carol?
It's now time for Mum Cam. I know she don't like Mum Cam.
Oh!
Let's grab a hold of the dog. Well, it's been a good experience. It's been interesting meeting the other 2, because
Do you wish you had done this earlier? Like looked into it earlier to meet, so that you could have met more people?
no, because I think it was all done at the right time. You know, there's always a time and a place for something, and I feel like this was the perfect time for it, because I went through the age that Hero went through, that was with the not knowing, then going past her age into the trying to accept it. And now I'm in the age of I want to know about it, you know. You go through like these stages, and I feel like
So what, you never wanted to know about it when you was younger? From juniors to secondary to college?
Well, no, because I knew nothing of it, you know. We didn't even know the name of it until...
Go on, what is it? I can't even pronounce it.
Simbracadactyly.
Simbracadactyly.
Yeah, I have no clue. But we weren't even told of it. Well, I weren't told of it
No.
until I was 16, I believe, when we went out for a usual checkup, and they handed me a pamphlet
Oh yeah.
with the name, and when I say basic information, it was not even a page. It wasn't even a page of information, you know. It was said, this is its name, this is what happens, that's it, and how many people it occurs in, and that was it. That's all they knew, and therefore that's all I knew. And from there, it's what I had to accept with. I have never been good at expressing feelings and emotions, so trying to describe how this journey has affected me is hard to put into words. But it's one that I'm thankful I'd done. It's one that I'm glad I brought my parents along for. And it's one I'm glad I met the people who I did. Because I can now say I'm not alone in my disability. I now have a community.